Hi, my name is Ms. Chris. In honor of June being Gay Pride Month, I'm going to be showing you how to make a wreath inspired by the Gay Pride flag and also giving you a brief history of the flag as well. So we're going to jump right on into it and get started. The first style of flower that I'm going to show you how to make is going to be a very simple basic flower. You're going to thread your needle with a good amount of thread, and then you're just going to tie off a knot that is big enough that it will not just pop straight through the ribbon. Next, you're going to take your ribbon, and then along one edge, you're going to do a running stitch, which is just a basic over, under. And pull the thread through. And you're going to continue to do that until you can make a full circle with the ribbon in a very small center. You want the petals to lie kind of flat with a little bit of ribbing and gathering in there. So I'm going to go a little bit longer. When your basic flower is as full as you would like to be, you're going to cut the ribbon just past your last stitch. This next step is optional. I do it because this will fray since we're not sewing over it. You just really quickly heat it with a lighter, keep it moving fast. Don't touch it right away because you just melted basically plastic. Once it's cooled, and it should only take a couple seconds, you're going to make sure that your ribbon is all the way gathered back as tight as possible. And then you're going to stitch into the end that you started at, creating a full circle, and pull it tight. And then you're just going to tie it off and create a knot. So you're just going to stitch in between both layers, the first and the end. You're going to create a loop. You're going to slide your needles through the loop, which will create a second loop. And you're going to pull your needle through that loop as well, and that will create a knot. And you're going to do that 3 times. With your finished flower now sewn together, you can add a button in the center, or you can leave it as is. It is up to you. The next style of flower is a rose. It's incredibly easy if you're using a wired ribbon. With a wired ribbon, you're just going to take your wire on the one end and start pulling it together and sliding it down. Until you have a good amount of ribbon. It's up to you, since you're working from the outside in, to kind of decide how much you want to gather and how big you want that rose to be. But you're just going to keep sliding it down. And then you can kind of check roughly by just making a circle how big you think that rose will be. And it's up to you if you want to go bigger or smaller. Once you have a good amount gathered, a little bit away, about an inch or so away from where the gathering ends, you're going to cut the ribbon. If you don't, all of this gathered stuff is going to pop off the one end of the wire. And it's going to be incredibly hard to get back on. So we're going to snip it here. And this opposite end, you can see it tried to thread all the way out already. We're going to grab and we're going to fold over, essentially creating a knot, and you can bend it a couple times to keep it in place. So it's a little loop. It should not be going anywhere now. And then finish pulling all the way to the end on that. And then on this end, you're going to make a knot as well. And just kind of bend the wire into a few loops and trim off all this weird extra wire you have. And then decide which side you want to be your center. I'm going to work from this side. And you're going to create a spiral. You want the spiral to be pretty flat, and you can adjust the petals afterwards because it's wire. So it's going to be really easy to do that. Once you have your spiral, you're going to take your needle and thread under the wire all the way across to the other side, catching every layer. So you can see where that needle is, and you're going to pull it through. You're going to move about a 1/4 inch over and go back through the other way, and you're going to do that all the way around the flower. That way you keep it stable and you catch as many layers and you don't have it uncoiling on you. Once you've sewn through it several times, you're just going to tie off the knot the same way as before, where you go through the fabric, create a loop, go through that loop, go through the second loop you made as well. Then just pull tight and repeat that 3 times. Once it's sewn together, you can adjust the inside petals by just twisting the wire and moving it how you would like, so that way it looks the way you want it to look. And it is entirely up to you to decide how you want it. And you can keep playing with it. It's wire, it'll bend, you can unbend it. And then you are done with a wired rose. If you want to make a rose flower but you don't have wired ribbon that you're using, it's still totally possible. It does just have a couple extra steps to it, but it is fairly easy. You're going to combine the steps from the flat flower and the wired flower to create the shape. To make a ribbon rose without any wire, you are going to start with the running stitch that you did before. Instead of having so much that you can make just a full circle, you're going to want to be able to make several circles. That way you can have layers to your rose, otherwise it's going to look incredibly similar to what you've already made and lay much flatter. And it's up to you to decide how many layers you want, if you want it to be a small rosebud or a large one. It's all on how you decide to make it. So last time we pulled it pretty much as tight as we could. We don't want it quite that tight. The center we want a little bit like really tight. And then you're going to loosen up the gather as you spiral out from there, so that way it lies nicer. And you can play with the tension to decide what you like. So that looks pretty good, so we're going to trim it. You're going to make that spiral that you did last time with the wire ribbon. So that's our center. We're going to work from there outward. And you can see there's a bunch of layers. And then we're going to flip it back over and make sure that it looks good. And just kind of adjust it a little bit if you want to. And then keeping it pinched, flip it to the wrong side. And you're going to sew through all the layers. Be careful that you're not catching your hand, because your hand is holding everything in place right now. So it's going to be really gentle, catch all of the layers, and then just go back and forth in a circle the same way you did with the wire ribbon. Once you've sewn through it enough where it stays stable, you're just going to create a small stitch and tie off the same way that you have been by going through that loop you create and then that second loop and pulling it tight. And this is what the front looks like, and you can adjust how it looks based on how tight you pull it when you're gathering it or how many layers you have. It is entirely up to you. You're now going to make several more flowers, as many as you want, depending on how many flowers and how full your wreath is going to be. That's entirely up to you. Once you finish making your flowers, you're going to move on to wrapping your wreath in a wider ribbon. I'm going to use a burlap ribbon for a little bit of a more natural feel to it, since the flowers are so synthetic. And you're just going to put some hot glue on it and then wrap that ribbon around the wreath. And every few wraps, just add a little bit of hot glue so that way it doesn't just slide all over the place. When you get to the end of one of your ribbons, you're just going to add some hot glue, glue it down, and then overlap the last one, the next one, with the previous one, so that way you don't see both ends. I'm tucking mine towards the inside, so it's not as noticeable. Mine has just barely a gap. I'm going to just put that as the top, where I'm going to hide it with a ribbon to tie the bow so that it can hang from the door. So I'm not going to worry about that at all, because I don't want to cover it up. But if you want, you can always get another ribbon if you don't have enough space. But this is so close together that I know I'll be able to easily hide it. Glue it down at the ends and move on to the next step. Next, you're going to pin down your flowers wherever you like them and then begin hot gluing them into place. You can also add a ribbon so that way it has some place to hang from, or you can hang the wreath just as is. It's entirely up to you how you decide to do this. For my wreath, I made flowers in the colors of the Progress Pride flag. Over the years, there has been several different versions of the LGBT Pride flag, and additional Pride flags have been created to represent specific LGBTQ plus communities. In 1978, Harvey Milk, one of the first openly gay people elected to a political office, asked the artist Gilbert Baker to create a symbol to represent the gay community for the first San Francisco Gay Freedom Day parade. Gilbert Baker designed and made 2 8-color rainbow flags consisting of pink, red, orange, yellow, green, teal, royal blue, and violet stripes. By 1979, the pink and teal stripes were removed, and the LGBT Pride flag was changed to the 6-color rainbow flag that you are more familiar with. This change was made due to the difficulty in obtaining the pink dye, and then the teal stripe was removed so that the flag would have an even number of stripes. In 2017, the Philadelphia Pride flag added black and brown stripes to recognize the additional hardships faced by the queer BIPOC community. In 2018, the Progress Pride flag, designed by Daniel Cusar, incorporated the Trans Pride flag, which was designed by Monica Helms in 1999. The Progress Pride flag changed the black and brown stripes into a chevron shape along the left side and added the light blue, pink, and white stripes of the trans flag into the chevron as well. Since the creation of the LGBT Pride flag, there has been several variations created to be more inclusive, and as time moves forward, there will likely continue to be more variations of the flag created. If you are interested in more information about LGBT history or biographies, check out the link below for more resources.
Support public libraries. Like, share, and subscribe for more great videos.